Hello everybody! I am so excited and incredibly honored to be doing this training on the Sanjin's global page. So once you hop on to watch, give me some hearts, help hype me up a little bit. But I'm so excited. So this video is actually targeted to the beginner, the person who hasn't quite hit their stride with ShadowSense yet. So you hear people talking about how great it is and how easy it is to apply and how long lasting it is, and you're like, I can't even get it on my eyelids looking halfway decent, right? Everybody applies it so quick, it makes it look so easy, and you're like, why can't I just get it together? Like, I want to love it, but I just can't figure it out. So this video is for you, and it's based on everything that I've learned over the years because I did not grow up wearing makeup or knowing anything about it, so it was all kind of like trial and error. So I want to share everything that I learned in terms of application, and I'm actually going to walk you through an application. I'm going to do two different eye looks, one on each eye, and believe it or not, but I'm actually going to walk through that quickly because ShadowSense can be applied quickly when you have some of the tips that I'm going to share with you. So first and foremost, before I get into the application, I wanted to just chit chat about a couple things that I think are going to make it a lot easier when it comes to application. And all of these things you can share with your customers because you want to set them up for success just like you want to be set up for success. And thank you for everyone welcoming me home. It was a crazy day. So first couple of tips are, number one, if you're a beginner or your customer's beginner, they're new to makeup, you're going to want to start with neutral tones or lighter shades. Because if someone has never really worn eyeshadow before and you give them like a French roast or a garnet and they put it on, they're gonna be like, holy moly, what is on my eyes? My eyes look black, right? It's going to be super, super dark. And the darker colors are a lot less forgiving when it comes to learning how to blend and apply than when using the lighter colors. The lighter colors, you can get away with more mistakes until you get the hang of blending and application and things like that. So first tip for you or your customers, start with the neutrals or the lighter colors. This is also because, again, that shock of first time wearing it, the first time you wore lip sense, a lot of us started with the lighter color because when we put on a darker color, you're like, oh my gosh, what's on my face? So you want them to have a good reaction and a good experience and start them off with something a little bit easier to apply, a little bit more natural looking, and then build them up to those other colors, okay? The other thing with that is start with a base shade, and this is what I'm going to do today. So I'll again walk you through this in the application, but start with a base shade, especially if you're someone who is struggling with blending. So a base color could be anything from sandstone pearl, candlelight, natural tan, mocha java, clove, depending on your skin tone. And the purpose of the base color, you don't need a primer with ShadowSense, but when you put on that base layer of ShadowSense all over your eyelid, it does make the color even. You can see here my eyelid's a little bit more purple than up here, it's a little bit lighter. So that's number one, it gives you a nice blank canvas. But number two, it makes blending a lot easier because then instead of your darker colors going on your skin, they're actually able to blend in with the base layer that you put on beforehand. So that's a tip for blending if you're struggling with it. Have your base shade first, and then I'll show you again in the application how to use your base brush to make everything blend beautifully and easy. So first one, tip one, color selection, start with the neutrals, lighter colors. Two, have a base shade. Number three, when it comes to color selection, a lot of people want colors that make their eyes pop, right? You want something that is going to make your eye color stand out. I have blue eyes, and opposite of the color wheel, you guys hear the color wheel talked about a lot. If you Google color wheel, you'll see a color wheel. And what that means is it has all the different colors, and you want to pick something that is on the opposite side of your eye color. So the opposite of blue is orange. That means if you have blue eyes, any shade of orange, copper, rust tone, kind of like the color of this top that I'm wearing, anything like that is going to make your eyes stand out because of the contrast. Same thing if you have green eyes, you're going to be looking at the reds, pinks, purples, all of those are going to contrast with the green in your eyes and really make that eye color pop. If you have brown eyes, you're a neutral, which means all shades are going to look beautiful with your eye color, okay? Now, if you are starting someone out, someone messages you and say they have green eyes and they're like, I want to make my eyes pop, give me a purple. Okay, start them off with a more medium toned purple. So you're going to want to give them something like amethyst, which is a little bit lighter. I would consider this a medium toned color. It's going to be a lot more forgiving when they first apply it, and they can apply it lighter or darker, you know, build up to it. But from the get-go, it's going to be a lot easier and more forgiving and not as shocking for them to use a color like amethyst than to say start with purple sapphire shimmer. Beautiful, gorgeous color, but it's a lot darker. Okay, so you're going to want to start with something a little bit easier. Again, this is targeted towards the beginner, someone who's wanting to learn it. So I actually will steer my customers if they're like, I love, let's see, rust. I love rust. Rust, I don't think this is in stock, but this is the most beautiful color sentence you've ever been made. You need to bring it back. They want rust. It is very rusty and bright orange. It is gorgeous, but I will steer them to Americano because it's kind of a step down from rust, and it's a lot easier for them to apply without it being as dark, as bright, as orange. That sometimes will scare them away when they're like, this is way too dark, I can't wear it. So keep that in mind when it comes to your customers or yourself. Set yourself up for success, set them up for success, okay? Okay, last thing before I get into talking about brushes is consistency and the different types of shadows. So you will find that there are your go-to colors, just like with LipSense, that apply super easily. You can literally put them on with your eyes closed. They blend gorgeous, they look gorgeous, no problem, right? Then are those colors that you do need to tweak your application a little bit, and I think that's also something that can really help with customer education and also for yourself. For example, Rosa, beautiful color, but it has a very thin consistency. It's a lot more watery than the other shadows, so you're going to have to apply this differently than you do the other ShadowSense colors. Because it's more liquid, you're going to have to put it on and let it dry. Just put it on, let it sit, and let some of that moisture evaporate before you start blending, before you start adding other layers. Otherwise, it's just going to be like paint. You're going to put it on and it's going to move wherever your brush moves instead of staying where you want it, okay? The glitters are the same way. So they have bigger glitter particles. So you're going to want to do more of a patting motion using your brush to actually pat that glitter onto your eye versus going back and forth. If you go back and forth, you're going to be more likely to actually flick those larger glitter particles. Then you might end up with some fallout glitter where you don't want it. So just pat, pick it up directly from, let's see, my rose gold glitter is almost out, but pick it up directly onto the brush and then literally pat it onto your eye, okay? That will help. So you do have to change application a little bit based on the consistency of the color. And again, that is just something to note. If you are not someone who can, you know, grab all the new shadows when they launch, it is okay to ask somebody. Like you can ask me. I try and get one of each new thing that is launched. You can ask about the consistency. And I try and educate my customers on that a lot. And I would say the vast majority of them are all pretty relatively the same. But if you've ever tried Rosa, you know that the consistency is a bit different. So you do have to apply it differently, okay? Last thing before moving on to brushes is have an oops pad. Oops pads are great, and you know how it is when you do your makeup. You could probably do it in your sleep, but the second you go live, it's like you forgot your name and you don't even know how to hold a brush. So I have my oops pad, which I use this even live in my group when I'm doing my makeup. This is for if you accidentally get too much on your brush, you can blot off some of it, okay? You do not have to commit if you have too much makeup on your brush. You don't have to commit to it. Wipe it off. You know, you can do it on your hand, or you can do it, I like these are sold in the back office. They are, I don't remember, blending palettes. And so you can just blot it, dab it off on here. And I do that all the time because sometimes I'm talking, I'm not paying attention, and then whoops, I have got way too much. And you know from that first little tap on your eye, if it's like, you know, all the shadow in the world is concentrated in that one spot. All right, I got way too much. Let me blot it off and then finish. Okay, so you're not stuck with it, blot it off. You know, it's a lot easier to build up than try and take away. So take it off the brush if you realize that you've used too much, okay? So brushes. I purposely have 4 different brushes here because this is the type of brush that I use for applying my base shade, okay? So these are all different brush sets. I think it matters less about the brush set and more about the brush type when it comes to application. So when I'm applying my base shade, I know that I want to have it all over my eyelid and all the way up to the eyebrow. And so I want a brush that almost kind of looks like a mini foundation brush because, again, when you're applying foundation, you want it all over your face and very evenly, right? So I want to apply that base shade all over my eye very evenly. Okay, so I'm looking for something that's a little bit shorter and a little bit rounder and pretty dense. because I don't want it to get soaked up into the brush. I'm really just wanting to put it and move it all over my eyelid and all the way up to the brow bone. When it comes to my corner colors, like my crease colors, I'm looking for something that's a little bit smaller because I want more control. If you start with a bigger brush, for example, one this big, and you're putting your outer corner color, this almost takes up half of my eyelid already, and it's gonna bring all like super high up here close to my crease because it's such a big brush. I want something a little bit smaller so that when I can put it, it's gonna take up just a smaller part, and then I can go up as close to my brow as I want. So tip, brow size, brush size matters. Okay, forgive me if I make any oopsies, any blunders on my words here. And then when it comes to applying anything like your inner corner color, your lighter colors, glitters, you're gonna want something like I showed earlier that you can pat it on, or if you're doing like an inner corner color that's not a glitter, something that's a little bit smaller, again, that has a little bit more control to where you can just kind of blend it towards your medium tone color. And it's going to make sense when I show you how to apply the shadows, okay? All right, I think we're ready for application. Okay, so wish me luck. Okay, so when it comes to application, again, I'm going to start with my base color. You can apply this directly to your brush or onto your eyelid directly. A lot of times I just go straight onto my eyelid, okay? And so I'll just put, you know, a little bit on there. You saw I dabbed it a couple times. That's because I'm running out of this, so it's not as full as it once was. When you have a brand new shadow, you can probably just put one little swipe and you'll have plenty. Then I'm taking my base brush and I am just going to pat. So I'm kind of doing a downward motion because I'm getting it closer to my lash line. And then I'm going to start going up and bringing it up towards my brow bone, okay? Super quick and easy. It doesn't take too long because this brush is so wide, it covers a ton of ground. And I'm using Candlelight. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I'm using Candlelight, big brush, that literally covers my whole eyelid, brow bone perfectly. So that is step one. And today, I'm gonna do two looks using similar colors. So this first one is going to be kind of like, I call it a one and done color, but I always still have my base shade. So it's technically two colors, but my customers know that the base shade is automatic. So that's one of the first things. Anyone who wants to order ShadowSense, I'm like, great, you want amethyst? Let's get you your base shade to go with it. It's almost kind of like lip sense and a gloss for me. If they're new, they need the base shade, okay? And then I'm going to use Pink Posy. Now, I know I talked about lighter colors and neutrals. The reason that I'm going to use Pink Posy, it is a medium shade color. It's gonna show up better on camera for you guys to see. And it also means that if I make any blunders while I'm doing this video, we get to correct them together because you're actually going to be able to see it. If I use like natural tan or mocha java, my eye's gonna look perfect, even if it's not perfect because it's a lighter color. So I'm going a little darker just so you guys can see, and then also it's really gonna make my eyes pop. Okay, so when I apply my outer corner and crease color, oh, actually, that's gonna be this eye. Remember that for this eye. This eye, I'm doing one and done, so all over. I'm going to just pick it up onto my brush, and then literally I'm applying all over. So I'm starting with the lid, and you see I'm kind of like patting, so I'm really just kind of putting that color where I want it on the lid, and then I'm going to kind of do the same thing that I did with the Candlelight. So now I'm going to start blending upwards, and I'm kind of doing like longer strokes, little circles, and just bringing it up towards my eye. Now, because I have the Candlelight on underneath, it is already blending so nice, even, and perfect with that Candlelight underneath. You see there's no harsh line automatically, okay? Do you suggest darkening lives and photos? Do you suggest darkening? Not sure what that means. So I'm just gonna continue. Okay, so once you have that color where you want it, you can go darker, you can go lighter, and then to blend, to layer more color. So that's up to you. If you are doing photo makeup, you're going to want to have your makeup be darker because it's going to show, now I get your question, it's going to show up more on pictures and on videos. I tend to show what I'm wearing, you know, and that is what it is. Like I typically like a more well blended, balanced eye look than like super crazy bold. But if I'm doing bold, which I have before, then obviously I'm going to do a darker color. But most people wear what they're going to wear every day, which is going to be a little bit lighter, more neutral, not be completely done up. So for when I'm doing videos, I will do it just how I would do in real life, if that makes sense. Okay. Now out here, this is my base brush that I use to apply the candlelight. You can fix anything that needs to be fixed. So if you have like your line is kind of like lumpy or it's not quite even, go in with your base brush. I'm just doing super light little circles. And that's another tip. When you're blending, you don't want to push super hard because you're trying to just gently mix those colors together versus like pick up this color and move it over here. So it's just super, super soft, light, gentle blending. Okay. Now you can look at this and decide, okay, love this, but I want it to be darker, because you see that as you blend, it makes it lighter. So you can't see it as much, right? So if you want more of an intense look, then you can just do the same thing, pick up a little bit more on your brush. And then I still start away from where I'm going, because you never know, sometimes you accidentally pick up more than you think. And then as I get closer to my crease, same kind of like little circles, just putting that color where I want it. Okay, now it's going to be darker. Then I go back in with my candlelight brush and I will do the same thing, which is if I see I have any harsh lines that I don't like, very, very gentle, just softly, little circles, blending it all together, okay? And this is how you can take down something that is like too dark or not dark enough. Use your base brush. And then also I just wanted to note, do you see how much this eye pops because of the pink posy? That contrast right there makes this eye so blue because of this color. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye, but we're going to add another step to it that's going to take this look from a one and done, super easy every day to a little bit more pizzazz, okay? So same thing, starting with my base color, same base brush. And again, starting on the lid, kind of like pat, pat, pat. Then we're going to bring it up towards the eyebrow. Fat brush covers a lot of ground. And that's what I'm looking for. Just like I'm applying foundation, I want to cover a lot of ground on my face. I want to cover a lot of ground on my eye. Boom, base is done. Then we're going to go back in again with the pink posy. And this time I'm only going to go halfway to the inner corner of my eye. So I'm going to start in the outer corner. Okay. As I'm applying this, I'm looking at the color that's coming onto my lid. And if it looks too dark or like I have too much, that's when I would use my oops pad. Okay. But I think I picked up just enough. And then I'm going to kind of bring it out. So I'm like angling out towards my eyebrow, because I kind of want to get my like outer corner started, and then I'm going to go in towards my crease. So I'm just doing those little like circles, kind of bringing it out a little bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more and go in towards the crease area. And this first part is really, you're just getting that color pretty much where you want it. Okay, so it's kind of a mix of like little pats, little circles, and I'm starting with, you know, not much color, because again, if you have a ton of color on this brush, you're going to be depositing a lot of color, and then it's, you know, you're gonna have to do a little bit more work to clean it up, okay? So there is the pink posy on this eye, and you can already start to see where I don't have the pink posy, how that eye look is going to come together. So I'm gonna take my base brush and I'm just gonna blend just along this top area. Again, I don't like harsh lines. I like everything to be nice, smooth, and easily blended together. Now, what you can do to make this eye stand out even more is apply either more candlelight. So if you want to keep it with two colors, then I would take one of these like smaller, flatter brushes. I'm actually going to use this one. And this is how you can build different looks. Once you get the technique down, you can swap out the colors, but do the same technique and get a lot of different eye looks, but it all apply just as easily. So grabbing a little bit more candlelight, I can take that and just kind of pat it here in that inner corner and just make that inner half pop more with the candlelight. And then I always try and bring it down like my tear duct a little bit. Okay, so what you want when you're doing a look like this is you want to make sure that there's not like a harsh line. Like this has a really nice ombre because again, it all blends together really nicely. If you find that you have like a harsh line or you went out way too far, I usually try and go like halfway through my eye. You can take your pink posy brush and just kind of pat a little bit more of that pink posy and draw it back in. Okay, that way the color doesn't go out quite as far. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, you're going to grab a shimmer color. So this is Champagne Shimmer, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that on this inside because who doesn't love a little bit of shimmer? See that shimmer? That really makes that pop. So it makes it stand out even more, okay? And then from here, you can go into mascara. You can decide if you want to make the pink posy part of it a little bit darker, which I'm actually going to bring my pink posy a little bit closer and blend it a little bit better with that Champagne Shimmer. Okay, so it's just a very, very light touch, okay? Now, from here, again, so this was Candlelight as a base, Pink Posy. This one has it all over the whole eye. This one, the only difference was I re-added some of that Candlelight on the inner corner, and you could leave it as just that. Again, if you want the extra pop, add the shimmer. And that is how I do pretty much 100% of my eyeshadow looks, is I will start with my base, which is Candlelight, and then you could do this with Americano. Americano and Champagne Shimmer is probably my all-time favorite combination for doing this style of look, and I really like having that brighter color on the inside. So now I'm going to transition to mascara and talk about mascara really quickly. So raise your hand if prior to ShadowSense you had ever used a primer, or if you still haven't used a primer. So I'm gonna let you guys know that I had never used a mascara primer before in my life, and I had no idea how to use it. And the first time that I used the primer, I put it on and then I put the mascara on right afterwards. And if you've ever done that, you know that then the primer and the mascara mix and it kind of becomes like a clumpy, gloopy mess, right? So when you apply the primer, you have to let it dry. Let the primer dry once you apply it, so that when you apply the mascara, it thinks that the primer is your lashes. Okay, and you want to coat that, not mix it together. So when it comes to mascara, I always curl my lashes beforehand. I know some people curl them afterwards, but for me, when I use a lash curler afterwards and I have mascara on, the mascara gets all up in here and my lashes kind of stick to it. So I am just going to do what I always do, which is curl my eyelashes now. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Okay, and then when it comes to the primer, also, I'm sure you've heard this tip before, but sit on your mascara, warm it up somehow before you put it on. It does make it easier to apply because it helps melt down some of the ingredients in there and makes for smoother application. So with the primer, again, you're going to apply it just like you're applying your mascara. And it's fun because it's this beige color, so you can see exactly where you've applied it and where you haven't. Okay, and a tip on this, if you're someone who hates waterproof mascara, I know hate's a strong word, but it's really difficult for you to get off, or you know, you wish that you could just wear the regular but have it last a little bit better in the heat and humidity, the primer bonds so well with the regular mascara that when I live in South Florida and I worked outside every day for the past 5 years, well, not every day, 6 days a week, when I use the primer underneath the regular mascara, it does not budge. It stays put on me just like the waterproof, but obviously when you go to shower, it's not waterproof, so it comes right off. So it does bond really, really well to the primer. So that is a tip. If you like the regular but want it to have a little bit better stain power, use it with the primer. Okay. All right, so I'm going to apply the primer really quickly. And then I have a tip for keeping mascara off your lids, and then also creasing. Because you see this little crease right here? I'm going to show you how to fix that. Okay, so this was actually one of my tips that I forgot to get to. So when using any shadows that are more watery in consistency, or, you know, if you don't got all day, you're like, I don't want to sit and wait for it to set, like with my eyes closed, I just want to go about my day. Put your shadow on, you know, finish the rest of your makeup look, and then go back with a brush right in that crease area and just rub your brush right where that little crease usually forms, because what can happen is if you have too much product or it wasn't set completely, when you are blinking and moving your eyes and looking up, that color is going to move into that crease area before it sets. So if you wait until it sets, like you finish the rest of your makeup and then you just go back, you can pick up that little bit of ShadowSense that goes right in that crease area and blend it out, remove it, and then you won't have crease at all for the rest of the day. So it's usually the last part of my makeup look, is I will go back and with a little brush right in the crease and get rid of that, and then I don't have any issues with creasing for the whole rest of the day. So that is a tip if you struggle with creasing. Okay, so then I'm gonna apply the mascara really quick, and then I have a challenge for you guys. Okay, so thank you all for everyone who has stuck with me thus far. Okay, so when it comes to applying mascara, if you're someone who struggles with getting it on like your eyelid and ruining your eye makeup, get another mirror and look down. If you look down when you're applying it, it automatically pulls your eyelashes away from the lid. If you're looking straight forward and you're here, it's kind of pressing and moving them back towards your eyelid, especially if you have longer lashes. So look down, and then you can still bring them up to like curl, but it's not going to be touching your brow bone or the lid. Okay, voila. You see the eyes popping with that beautiful pink posy. So then same thing over here on this eye. And I'm just gonna do one coat for the sake of time and then give you guys your ShadowSense challenge, because this is what changed the game for me with ShadowSense. Okay, trying to apply it relatively quickly. Awkward pause. Okay, so there you go. So two completely different looks. You see the style of this eye with like the shimmer. You know, this is a lot more kind of like done up, very summery, very pretty, but you saw how easy it was. I literally did the same thing I did on this eye, but then just added a pop of that shimmer on the inner corner. Versus this eye is beautiful. You got the beautiful ombre with the pink posy and the candlelight. So again, always start with that base color. And then because it's opposite of my eye color on the color wheel, and if you have green eyes or blue eyes, pink posy is gonna like, you guys need to go do this and wear it. It's gonna be beautiful. And how easy will it be for your customers if you're like, hey, you can get this beautiful eyeshadow look and it's really this easy. You know, it's all about starting them off on things that are easy and doable. And then once they get this down, okay, now I want you to take your base color and put a little bit of it on the inner corner. And then you know what, if you want even more like pizzazz or excitement, add a little bit of shimmer to it. Literally any color. So I always recommend, I do trios, base color, medium color, shimmer color. And I do this eye look 95% of the time. And I just swap out the colors. Okay, it'll have a different color in the outer corner and crease, different shimmer color on the inside, and I do that literally for every single look. So my challenge for you guys, and you guys could take this, you know, if you're creative and want you to do something fun, you can make this even bigger, but yes, you need it. Everybody needs pink posy. So my challenge for you, if you struggle with ShadowSense, or if you have a customer that struggles with ShadowSense, or a downline who struggles with ShadowSense, is to pick 2 to 3 colors and do the same eye look every single day for 5 days. That is what changed the game for me, because everyone's eye shape is different. You know, we're all struggling with blending, we're all struggling with placement and things like that, and you learn from what you do consistently, not every once in a while. So if you try to use ShadowSense and it doesn't work for you, and then you go months again without trying it, you're gonna be right where you were the first time. So the pivotal moment for me was I took Candlelight, Americano, and Champagne Shimmer, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna do the same look every single day for 5 days in a row. And by the 5th day, I figured out how to blend the ShadowSense. I figured out my eye shape. I figured out how far I wanted to have the shimmer, because one day I took it all the way out, didn't like that. One day I had it right in the inner corner, didn't like that, because everyone's eyes are different. But if you do the same look with the same colors 5 days, you're gonna learn the consistency of the ShadowSense. You're gonna learn your eye shape, your skin. If you have more like crepey eyes, you're going to want to like hold your eye when you're applying it, you know, so you're gonna figure it out when you do it the same way every single time for 5 days. Now, what you could do with this, and maybe somewhere down the line I'll have time and I'll create something like this, is imagine doing like a beauty workshop with your customers where you take them, everyone gets the same eyeshadow trio, and you take them for 5 days and you do your makeup together for 5 days. They have to check in and show their progress. And then on the 5th day, if they checked in every day, they get, I don't know, a makeup brush set or something fun. You could literally make this to like a beauty school and teach your customers how to apply the shadow while they're following along with you, and then reward them for going through the 5 days, or you could do 3. But I feel like by the time I got to the 5th day, that was really when I was like, I'm a pro at this. And now I can do ShadowSense pretty much in my sleep. So if you can get someone to commit to that for 5 days, they're gonna learn how to use it. They're gonna be a pro. So that's just an idea that I was thinking of that I think would be so fun, because it's the same colors. You go learn through it together. And they're going to be so much more empowered afterwards, and then they're gonna want all the colors, okay? So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will probably look through after the live and try and answer anything that I didn't see while I was on here. Let me look at my notes really quick, make sure I didn't forget anything else. Oh, I was gonna show you the oops pad. So what I mean by the oops pad, because it's important to have an oops pad, is I'm gonna grab rust because I told you it was so bright, right? So imagine if I was going to apply, you see how much ShadowSense is on this. If I just dab this on here, I'm gonna get so much color. And then say I'm going to apply this on my eye, and it's like, you know, this is a ton of color. And I put it on my eye and I'm like, whoa, that's really dark. That's gonna be hard to blend out. Or if you're using rustic brown, take your oops pad and just kind of like pat it off, and you're going to see so much color coming off. And then what you'll be left with is still some that you can't see. There's still enough after you like dab it off to start applying that color on your eyelid. But I don't know if you're like me, if you've ever like gone to apply it and you've gotten like way too much to where it goes, it's super dark versus lighter. So having a little oops pad, very, very helpful. And it just makes it, if you have any mistakes, you don't have to commit to having too much on your brush. Dab it off and then continue, okay? And that is all I got. So I hope that's helpful. Definitely give me some feedback. Let me know if you do the same look 5 days in a row, and if you are a pro at the end. I would love to hear some feedback on that. And if you guys get peak posy, take a picture in it and tag me in it so I can see all your beautiful looks, okay? All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.